emails this morning that said, "Are you recording this? Because I can't make it." Tom, welcome.
Good afternoon.
For those who this is their first time on one of these discussions, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your role there at JK and a little bit about JK.
Sure. Everybody, thanks for attending today and coming on. I'm Tom Grass. I'm with JK Moving. I'm the general manager of the Maryland location. We do both household goods and commercial moving out of this location with lots of room for storage. I've been with JK for over 17 years, and I also head up the sales team of 17 professionals that are on the street every day going out to see prospective customers.
And one of the unique things that JK has done, and really a pioneer in this area, is serving senior communities and older adults in a real meaningful way. So
yeah, we work with a lot of senior move managers. We love working with them. Their houses, when we go there, we know we're getting into an organized move. Things go very well when that is happening.
Awesome. Great.
Yep.
Let's see. We've got a couple of little housekeeping things, and then I think we've got one of your colleagues, Shauna, who's going to be able to share some stuff with us today. But before we do that, let me just run through a couple of things. First, I just want to recognize the Elite Collection. They're the sponsor for all of our discussions this month. And if you're not familiar with them, in the DC metro area, there is the brand new community in Fairfax offering assisted and memory care, the Providence, opening this month in Rockville, again, assisted living and memory care, the Seneca in Rockville. And then in 2022, early next year, the Landing will be in the Potomac Yards area of Northern Virginia, and that will have independent assisted and memory care. So definitely check them out. Some really neat communities. And then tomorrow, we got kind of a theme. We got the leadership of NASMM today. Tomorrow, we're going to get to talk to the leadership of ALCA, the Aging Life Care Association. So definitely plan on tuning in tomorrow at noon, and we'll have a discussion with Taney. But the just also a reminder, proaging.com is where we'll post this recording of today's discussion, but we got all of our recordings. We got a career center, provider search, and you can see and order all the positive aging source books. Before we bring on Mary Kay and Jennifer, let's bring on your colleague, Shonda, because I think she's got some interesting information to share on the topic of moving and downsizing.
Yep, Shauna's got some fun facts for us to think through for your next move, especially when it comes to downsizing.
So,
hello, Shauna.
Okay.
Hi. There she is.
Hey, Shauna, and you sent me some PowerPoints with some, I got to see them before anybody. So I think it's pretty cool. But before I bring that up on the screen, just let everybody know what your role at JK is.
Sure, absolutely. So I've been in the industry about 15 years. The last 2 have been here with JK. I am currently the customer care manager, as well as I manage our claims team. And just to kind of give you a perspective, last year alone, my team handled over 8,000 moves. Those are local, interstate, and interstate. And currently, right now, we're just at about 4,000 that we're handling. So definitely, this is what I'm used to, what I see every day, and hopefully, I can give you some pointers and some information that'll help everyone.
Great. Thanks. So let me share your slide deck here, and you're gonna run through some what I think are some pretty interesting elements here.
Yep, absolutely. Can you go back one to the rules of thumb?
Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay.
No.
Boom. Okay, rules
Yeah.
of thumb. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. So what I wanted to do today is to show everybody some of the things that we commonly see with struggles with folks that are especially downsizing. Obviously, we wish everybody could work with a move manager, but you know that's not always feasible within folks' budgets and lifestyle. So just wanted to provide some perspective for those that can help counsel the people that are downsizing. When you have the movers come in, you have your salespeople come in to give you estimates. If you've never done this before, you get an estimate put in front of you and it says your weight is X, right? 5,000, 6,000, 10,000. That normally means absolutely nothing to anyone. So they're like, I have no idea. So what we wanted to do is to kind of show you to be able to provide the information. This is what we typically see weight wise, depending on the dwelling that the person is coming from. So a 1-bedroom condo is somewhere around 4,000 to 5,000 pounds. Of course, this can vary depending on the type of furniture that they have, and we can get into that in a moment as well. For an additional bedroom of a condo, you can look to add about 2,000 pounds. A townhome with the additional room that has, usually a garage and such, we typically see anywhere from 8,000 to 9,000 pounds. And a pretty standard single family home is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 12,000 to 15,000 pounds. And that'll give you some perspective if you have someone come out and you're currently in a single family home and they tell you, oh, there's no way it's going to be more than 6,000. Just kind of one of those red flags that you want to, keep in the back of your mind. So with that being said, right, a lot of folks, as they're trying to downsize, they're trying to determine, what do I need, right? And when you've been in a house for 20 years, 30 years, even 15 years, you accumulate things that you're like, I want to take these. These are things that I'm going to use. What we like to tell people is to be cognizant of what those things are. For example, books. If you're not reading the books anymore, if you're not using the encyclopedias, we know they're great and you think the grandkids might want to read them someday, they most likely don't. And this is going to add significant weight to your shipment. Same thing with, you've been stocking up over COVID and you have, there's a lot of cans of food. Again, you have to think about, what does this impact? Is this $50 to $100 more that this is going to increase my charges worth the $10 of food that you have? Same thing with paperwork that they've saved over and over, over the years. Sometimes people just don't understand how much that actually weighs. And then of course, the overly large furniture. And that also connects into when you've lived in a house that, has the large vaulted ceilings, has a lot of open space. To try to condense that into a townhouse or an apartment that doesn't have it, it can become very overwhelming and frustrating because a lot of those things don't fit. Mm-hmm. Again, pianos, obviously, those are a big one. If nobody plays it, we always recommend donating to a school or a church. And a lot of times those folks are happy to come and pick that up. And another thing that can add weight and things we like to remind folks is, especially when downsizing, if you're going to an area or to a new residence where no longer do you have to shovel, are you going to have a garden? Do you have to mow the lawn? Get rid of those things. They're just going to take up space. And again, you're going to end up paying for something that's going to sit someplace that you don't have room for, and you're never going to use them.
Man, some great, now just out of curiosity, and this may obviously sound funny to you, but do you guys have a big scale that you put somebody's house on? Like, how do you actually get those weights? And I imagine, is that one of the areas of sort of smoke and mirrors in the moving industry, where if somebody's talking to somebody that's not reputable, that there could be some issues there?
Exactly. And you're exactly right. And so you have a difference of someone that's going to come in and going to give you an accurate survey based on what you have, and someone that's going to be a salesperson and forgets to tell you, oh, this might happen, or this is an additional charge. So everybody in the industry, we all use the same general rule. is when the surveyor goes in, they look at your items, but they're not necessarily looking at it as just a weight. We use a cubing system based on how much space it takes up. And then there's a formula that's used. And again, this is industry wide to provide us with that weight. It's a really good rule of thumb, pretty accurate. But again, depending on the type of furniture, you also have to take into effect, a chair that you get at IKEA might weigh 5 pounds, where your dining room chair is going to be closer to 35 or 40. But yeah, definitely, if someone's not aware of that, which is why I wanted to specifically point out what you can look at as an average based on the home, because yeah, it definitely can vary, and unfortunately there's some people that are not very reputable and can use that to their advantage, which is why we always suggest to get at least a minimum of 3 estimates.
Excellent.
So
Great.
Steve, to your point, we do have big scales.
We
So
do,
our tractor trailers roll onto a scale.
right.
You get the weight in the morning, they load the shipment for the home.
Mhm.
Then that evening, they go back over the scale. The difference is the net weight of what we're hauling and what we're charging for.
Exactly.
Oh, great. So you give folks the estimate, but there actually is they're going to get sort of this, which is, I imagine not every moving company has that capacity. The 2 guys in a truck, I know there's a company called that, may not have something like that to validate the weight.
Everybody needs to use a certified scale, whether it's at a truck stop or at another location.
Okay.
So we'll have what we call foreign carriers come across our scale,
Right.
Since we're certified with the state of Maryland, as well as certified with the state of Virginia for that warehouse. And there's a charge for it, but they do get the weights from it.
Yep.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us again, Shauna, and I'm looking forward to next month and hearing what you have to share. Tom, we've been looking forward to this discussion for a while, because I think we kind of did it backwards. We have been talking to the senior move managers that are out there, and there's this governing body, this association, the National Association of Senior and Specialty Move Managers. And so now the exciting thing is we're going to get to meet the leadership team of that association. And that's Jennifer Pickett and Mary Kay Busey. I'm going to have her pronounce her last name for us. But if Jennifer and Mary Kay could come from behind.
Hello.
Hey, Jennifer.
It's Bicey, Mary Kay Bicey.
Bicey, all right.
But that's okay. You're in good company. No one ever gets it correctly on the first try. So
great. Well, thanks you all, and also I'm really charged up because we've got questions coming in already. So I know this is going to be interactive. And guys, keep those questions and comments coming through. We'll read those and address those. But before we do, let's get to know these 2 leaders. Tom, you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. Like to welcome Jennifer Pickett with NASMM. We've been talking about NASMM in every webinar we do. And it's finally a good time to have you guys on to explain what you do, how it works, how important it is to be part of the association. So Jennifer, welcome. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into NASMM.
Yeah, we're very happy to be here today. Both Mary Kay and I come to NASMM as association management professionals. We are not senior move managers. I have worked in association management, specifically with aging services organizations for almost 30 years. With NASMM, I am the associate executive director. I am the other half of the management team. It's just the 2 of us. And in my capacity at NASMM, I handle member services, work a lot one-on-one with members, handle the association's marketing, graphic design, run the conference from a logistics standpoint. and we, Mary Kay and I work very closely together to, be always, present in terms of, doing environmental scans and staying ahead of the curve and watching for, opportunities, watching for threats, where our members need to be, what kinds of, things that they can do to expand and enhance their businesses. That's kind of my story. I've got a great partner and a great job, and almost 1,000 great members that we get to work with every day.
Great. And Mary Kay, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, I also come from an Aging Services Association model background. Pretty much everything Jennifer said, you can sort of, say the same thing for me. The one difference is I do have an educational background in aging services. In 2000, I got my Master of Science in gerontology, and that has been really my focus for the last 21 years. I came to this as from a caregiver point of view, and after the aging aunt that I was caring for passed away, I was riveted by all of the dynamics of aging in America in the 21st century, all of the challenges of navigating the very complicated landscape of services. And so I said, how can I continue doing this? And I knew I needed, really a solid education to do it. So went back to that, landed at the first Aging Services Association, where I met Jennifer on my first day of work. And yeah, in 1998, I didn't even have my master's yet. I was in the process, and we've been really partners ever since. And when she describes her duties, she's really not doing herself a service. We are overlapping every hour of every day. She does so much more than what she said, because we're a two-person office. Really, all of our members and all of our consumer clients who, potential clients of our members who call our office, they'll get either one of us. It's really just a fabulous, lean, mean team that we are. And, what's great is the consumer knows we'll call them back. It's not a layered office where responsibility can be shirked. So we're really proud of that we're very responsive to our members, but also to the consumer public. So
Great. And I'm glad you brought up consumers, because I can see from the comments that we're going to be reading and the questions we're going to be reading, this is going to be that we've got a lot of consumers with questions in the audience. And so what I would say, I know there are some members of your organization that are on this call. I saw a note from Sharna, one of the founding members, if you guys don't mind putting your names and contacts into chat so everybody can see them, I think some of the NASMM members are going to be able to solve some of the problems that we're going to be discussing today. So, and I'll get to reading some of those. Tom and I will get to reading some of those here momentarily, but let's kind of dive into NASMM in general. First off, used to be the National Association of Senior Move Managers, and you have a slight name change. Can you tell us a little bit about the rebranding and how important that is?
It's something that has been on our, bucket list, if you will, for a number of years. The word senior is a little polarizing, and it begs the question, what is a senior? We get calls from all sorts of people. I'm 52, can you help me? I'm disabled, can you help me? I'm going through a divorce, can you help me? I've got a child who I need to get home from college, can you help me? I've got a storage unit that needs to be cleaned out. And it just became very, not that it has just become apparent, we've known for a long time that, our members, while in their heart of hearts, most of them will, focus mostly on the older adult market. There are many members that will help, a young family that's, relocating, and has, a husband that's starting a new job, and, mom with kids starting new schools and just needs to get the house pulled together. So We feel like, as we focus on our acronym, which is NASM, which has not changed since the rebrand, it provides an opportunity. It's not so limiting for those people who really do need the support of our move managers.
Yeah,
Okay.
we talk about this almost on every discussion, sort of ageism and the labeling and the words that we use, and how, on one hand, we're trying to communicate that these are services that could help older adults. On the other hand, when you attach that label, none of the older adults want to use those services. So it's quite a
Yeah.
dilemma. But now, so let's kind of start, actually, this is sort of a question that relates to consumers and to your members, is that, consumers can go to your website and find a move manager anywhere in the country, correct?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Okay, so that's good. So I'll make sure to drop that in the into chat. But then maybe if we can back up, and when they find a member on your site, like what are sort of the credentials, or what makes that person or organization a move manager? Like, how does that process work? Because I bet you in the audience, we have people that might be thinking about this as a career opportunity too.
Right. The one thing I would start out with is just going to our website and locating a senior move manager. You're already like way ahead of the game, because the truth is there's lots and lots of people out there doing this, and they are not members of NASM. It's quite honestly the Wild West out there. There's all kinds of people using that term, even though NASM owns the trademark of senior move manager. They're calling themselves relocation specialists, senior relocation specialists, all that kind of stuff. And they've chosen not to be a part of their professional trade association. It's like hiring a lawyer who doesn't want to be a part of the bar association.
Mhm.
I mean, it just coming onto the NASM website, you've already sort of eliminated all of those outliers out there who choose not to have liability insurance, who choose not to sign an intense code of ethics. So those kinds who choose not to take required coursework in aging services. So right there, any consumer who lands on our website, and we're a nonprofit, I'll be honest with you, this is not about selling for us. We're a two-person office. We have a nonprofit status. We don't need anyone's money to keep the lights on. Let's put it that way. So if someone is not willing to do those things, we don't want them in membership. So already by going and looking for a NASM member, you've already gone to sort of the gold standard of senior move managers. And then once within the site, you can, look up you can click on their website right there, check them out, see if they've been certified, see how long they've been a member, see what their website tells you about them, call them up, everything, we've made it really user-friendly. Everything you need to know is in that frame. There, everybody has a profile. Every senior move management company has a profile on our website. And we would just recommend, there's also a search function by zip code and by distance. And, you can check it out that way. So there's a lot there to check
Love
out.
it. And I noticed on the site, there's a certification, the only certification designed for this
Exactly.
segment. Tell us a little bit about that and what's involved in being so like.
Right. Yeah, so NASM offers both an organizational accreditation and an individual certification. The individual certification requires advanced coursework, and it requires proof of 40 invoiced senior moves. This is not something that you just join and become certified. When you join NASM as a provisional member. Once you've taken our required coursework, once you show proof of insurance, once you've got a live website that's up and functioning, once you've taken care of their commitment to the code of ethics, that's when they go up on our website. That's when they can use the NASM logo. So certification is a step beyond that. And the NASM board felt very comfortable that members pursuing certification needed to have at least 40 moves, and that 40 moves would show a level of competency in senior move management. Those certifications are, they are 3-year certifications, and then to renew certification, there is additional continuing education requirements that need to be proved every 3 years. Our organizational accreditation program, which is our NASM A+ accreditation, is for senior move management companies who have been in business for quite a while. This is not for startup companies. This is for companies who have been in business for at least 5 years, who have at least 200 moves under their belts. And it is both, it's a system of a peer review board where they have to show proof of standards of practice in both client services and senior move management operations. And it's a very rigorous process. So, and then you'll also see things like the Diamond Society and the Circle of Service. Those are longevity awards. Members that have been part of NASM for at least 5 years are part of our Circle of Service. And those who have been longer than 10 years are part of our Diamond Society. Other badges you'll see are NASM at Home Specialist. Those are senior move management companies who have taken additional training to help older adults stay in their homes, as well as our COVID-19 certificate program, which members took to show advanced training and understanding of safety processes and procedures during, which is now a very different reality for older adults moving into senior living.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right, man, this has been great. Well, Tom, what do you think? This has been a really good overview. I think we need to start diving into some of these questions and comments that we've got here.
Yeah, sure. But one question real quick is, I'm assuming you're all 48, 50 states, and how many members are there?
So almost about 1,000 members. And yeah, we're in pretty much every state. Their membership sort of goes as the population goes. We do have a member in Alaska. We do have a couple members in Hawaii. But yeah, I don't think there's a state that we don't have any representation. Maybe Montana.
Great.
I don't know about Montana. That could be the wild, wild west.
Well, yeah, and the East Coast, the Mid-Atlantic, the Southeast are really strong areas. Senior Move Management was born in Philadelphia. Early adopters, early members were in Maryland, in the DC, Virginia area, Florida. So it's been around for 20 years. It sounds like we might be, the new thing, the bright shining new object, but Senior Move Management has been around. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary next year.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we also have a very strong international membership that is growing. We have quite a group in Canada, the UK. We have got our first member in South Africa. We have members in Australia, Argentina. So it is, it continues to grow and expand.
Somebody just asked, do you have one in Puerto Rico?
Not yet.
Okay.
But give us a call.
You probably got a member or two that wouldn't mind traveling down there.
Well, and here's the thing, we are going to grow. The challenge for Jennifer and me and for our board of directors is really to manage the growth of this field responsibly, because it's happening. I mean, we maybe have been around for 20 years, but we're really seeing seismic growth now, because our oldest baby boomer is just 75 this year. That's not terribly old. So we're going over the next 5 to 10 years as boomers inch into the 80s. And there are life changes, whether it's, physical, financial, cognitive, who knows what lies ahead for any of us. But as that population, moves into their 80s, there is going to be just such an incredible need for this. So if you're out there in our audience and you're thinking about, possibly adding this to your menu of services or starting a company brand new, fresh, there's a need. There's still a need everywhere.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because we're going to get to these comments here, guys. Don't worry. But um, of your membership, like what are some of the members that are out there that may be offering additional services and move management? Like I can assume, I know a lot are dual certified as professional organizers and move managers, but are there any sort of interesting twists on that?
I mean, we have attorneys, elder law attorneys. We have
Real estate agents.
real estate agents. It's such a natural fit.
We also see interior designers, home stagers. And the one thing about, all NASMM members are organizers, but not all organizers are move managers. And there's a whole different set of skills that are required to work, not just with older adults, but really to have an acute understanding of the moving industry. It is not as simple as some think it is. It's, there is an understanding of just a lot of things, and
there's a lot of math in moving.
There is a lot of
There's a lot of math.
There's a lot of understanding about contracts and liability and things like that. That is, if you do not have the proper training, you're really going into this and doing your clients a disservice, because you really have to have that full understanding of what is a complete, what does move management really look like from start to finish.
We like to think of it as, professional organizing plus, and we're seeing a lot of professional organizers choosing to join NASMM and to add senior, move management services. So that's exciting.
All right. Well, this is great. Yesterday, I had 2 authors of a caregiving book, and it turned into a caregiver support group. And I can tell by these questions, this is going to be today a moving and downsizing support group here.
Bring it on.
I want to reward Mary because she had the first question, and everybody can see this in comments, but I'm gonna read it real quick because I think this is a great thing for us to kick off a discussion and hopefully solve some problems for Mary and some of these other folks. My husband has recently been diagnosed and is less than mild cognitive dysfunction. He's easily angered, illogical, resists taking medications. I'm lining up counseling for him. He will be angry. Our daughter will join us for our last week in Florida. We will be donating most of our items. He will have to get rid of some of his collections, his cue sticks, his aquariums, his fish, his clocks. We have been downsizing and moving things to Minnesota for the last 2 years. And we've ordered a pod. We will have 2 weeks to fill it. We've also scheduled with charity a truck to get some furniture and miscellaneous. So Mary, number one, I know this is a super emotional time, and you're going, especially with your husband with his cognitive impairment. It sounds, by the way you've described it, you're taking the burden of this all on, and I would say to Tom and our panel members and some of those folks in the audience, feel free to jump in with any tips that could help Mary through this challenging time.
Well, it sounds like she's doing a lot right already. This is exactly, if you're choosing not to hire a senior move manager, this is exactly where you should be. You should be taking the time to be doing this thoughtfully. I think 2 weeks is, it's quick, but it's not doable. We see a lot of adult children fly in from around the country and land at their parents' home and expect to, distribute everything in a 48-hour weekend. They haul a dumpster into the driveway and they call it a day. The fact that she and her daughter are trying to do this thoughtfully, hats off and kudos to Mary. that she's looking at donating a lot. That's excellent as well. And, you know, obviously this is the work of a senior move manager. I mean, a senior move manager would be able to help Mary and her daughter just in the best way and take some of that burden off of her at a really difficult time. But we understand it's not an option for everyone. So there are a number of tips. We have a great guide on our website that's free for her to download that gives all kinds of tips for downsizing your home. She's doing a lot of them already, but we do encourage Mary and anyone else to go and download that free guide on the homepage of our website.
And a question came in from Judy related to this. So Mary's they're moving from Florida to Minnesota. What would be the best state for her to hire a move manager if she was to go about doing that? And is there a benefit to her hiring a move manager like now at this stage? Could that be helpful?
Sure, absolutely. She should hire the move manager. She's in Florida, is that correct?
It looks like
That's where the parents are.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the move manager should be hired in Florida, and then another move manager can be hired in Minnesota, and the move manager in Florida would make those arrangements so that when they land, you know, when they get to Minnesota, you know, there'll be someone there to accept the shipment, to resettle them in their new residence. And I also just want to point out, and Mary Kay, I think, can also speak to this, what Mary's going through with her husband. These are very normal signs of dementia. These are, you know, it's not a personal thing towards you. And I understand that he's angry and frustrated, but these are, I mean, this is pretty much normal behavior for this type of diagnosis. So, you know, if you've got a senior move manager, that allows you to be the wife and your daughter to be his, you know, his daughter, and let the move manager take some of that stress off of you if that's at all possible.
Great. And there's 52, looks like there's 52 move managers in Florida. So you got a lot to choose from in that state.
For sure.
Let's see. Linda says, Mary, I would suggest that you keep some of your husband's memories. He may relate to it in an experience that will make him happy. Great idea. No, and okay, great. Well, Tom, you want to pick one of the questions that's there that jumps out?
A lot of the questions, Steve, are in the realm of how do we get rid of the excess things that we don't want, you know? And this question comes up a lot. You know, I think most areas have their own specialties depending upon where you are. I don't know that there's any one answer. Is that one of the biggest challenges for the senior move managers that they bring to the association?
Absolutely. It is such a, and it's becoming increasingly daunting for our senior move managers, because what we're finding is, and especially over the course of the pandemic, when everyone was home and had the time and energy to go through their stuff, the donation locations, you know, the Goodwills and everything, some of them, you know, they're at the brim. They literally shut off donations. I experienced that in my local one about 5 times over the last, you know, 5 months. They would just shut down the donation part. The store would be open, and they were just like, we literally can't handle it. Our Goodwill also has quit handling any furniture. They just will not accept any furniture. And a year ago, they were accepting, you know, entire bedroom sets. So this is changing literally, you know, week to week, whatever these places can handle.
And I think too, to add to that, you know, we're living in a Target IKEA world these days. You know, our kids don't want our stuff. You know, I mean, I can look at it right now. I'm, you know, 56 years old. I've got 3 daughters. And every time I bring that china out, I'm like, who wants it? And they're like, yeah, no, it's okay. And, you know, they don't have the emotional attachments to furniture. They didn't scrap and save for a dining room set. You know, they bought a, you know, $200 table at Target and some chairs and called it a day. So, you know, these up and coming generations are much more about experiences than they are about things. And so, you know, it's hard because you want to think that you're that your possessions may have a life after, but the reality is that they just don't. And kind of coming to that realization is,
And that's hard because, our clientele right now, they're of the age where this, purchasing a dining room set, purchasing a fur coat, I mean, you name it, purchasing, original artwork and all of that, that was a sign that they had made it, that was for their generation's success, a visual sign of success. And then for 50 years later, for a daughter or a granddaughter to come in and say it's a worthless piece of junk after, they, as Jennifer said, maybe saved for it, maybe it was given to them as a wedding gift from their in-laws or whatever, it's really hard to sort of dismiss it. But that's where the senior move manager comes in and really works with them to understand why they need to think about donating it and repurposing it, because you want all of the goodness attached to that to live on. And it, it won't fit in an
Right.
assisted living apartment.
and that's the hallmark of move management, as Mary Kay and I will say over and over, is helping older adults and families part with possessions without parting with the memory. And that's really the art of senior move management and what our members do, and that they do come in and help them find solutions to this very problem. It is, when we talk about senior move management, many times the move is this very smallest part of this whole process. It's getting to be able to move that is why senior move management is so incredibly important.
Question from Ken Silverstein, who is with an assisted living provider, Alfred House. He was wondering, is there a membership category for non-move manager types, or a way that folks, whether they be assisted living, home care, what have you, can sort of have an affiliate member? Or do you have a conference or something where they can interact with your membership or what your audience, what have you?
Well, we definitely have a conference so that they can interact with our members. We were virtual this year, but we will be in person in Philadelphia in October of 2022. There's always opportunities for, especially for senior living communities, to work with us directly, to receive our newsletters, to it's really as simple as just giving us a call or shooting us an email. Our senior living providers are very good friends, and we like to have those sort of relationships where we can refer to them and help our members help their residents. I mean, our members are outside sales forces for senior living communities. There's no question about it. They move residents in, and many times can convert a potential resident into a resident much quicker than if the family was doing this without the help of a senior move manager.
Oh yeah, just like Tom and JK loves senior move managers, so do senior living communities, because it's a much easier process.
Well, and what we've seen now since COVID is that many senior living communities are requiring the use of move managers because of their ability to have safety protocols in place and understand how important it is to not just protect the client, but also the current residents and staff. You just don't pull an 18-wheeler up to a CCRC and say, hey, we're here. Doesn't work that way.
Another point to bring up on this topic here is, and actually there is, somebody did ask a question about fees and how much move managers cost. But before we kind of bring that up, one thing that I will add is that a lot of times a move manager, depending on your possessions, can find the money for their services if you have some valuables that may be worth something. But number two, if you are moving to, or your loved one is moving to a senior living community, what I've seen a lot of our providers doing is sort of saying, hey, if you come in as a new resident, we have a credit that you could use to use a move manager.
Yep, absolutely.
But on that topic, how do most move managers charge?
Well, I just would like to just circle back to something you said, that the one sort of thing that people sort of mistake about senior move management is that it's, you know, an expensive service, that it's an elite service. It's for wealthy people. And we want you to know that it's anything but that. So many just average families are enlisting the services of the senior move manager, because it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It can be, you know, part of the project of downsizing the home. Maybe the most difficult part that the family doesn't want to tackle. It's not, you know, our senior move managers can adjust their service menu to your budget. And we're seeing lots of families who are starting out with maybe purchasing a small number of hours, you know, a small package of services. And once they witness the magic of senior move management in front of them, almost always want to sign on for more services, because it's such a relief. It is just relief. And the sense of overwhelmingness, you know, is gone. And so people are willing, you know, to pay for that a little bit. So this is not just for big fancy houses. This is for everyone.
Mhm.
And to answer your question specifically, I mean, you know, between $40 and $80 an hour is the national average. It's going to be more expensive in, you know, urban areas, mostly on the East Coast. But move managers will charge by the hour, but they do offer packages, probably a good, better, best, which will, you know, include everything from a floor plan to, you know, certain hours of sorting and downsizing, maybe an admin, you know, a couple of hours of admin time where they're, you know, looking for a place to, you know, where they can get the best resale for your jewelry or your art, you know, making arrangements to have, you know, a car shipped to a nephew in, you know, Omaha or whatever. So as Mary Kay says, it's, you know, it's as much or as little as you want.
And yeah, and I think Jennifer made a good point about, you know, just like real estate is different, you know, a $500,000 home in, you know, Northern Virginia is, you know, an average size house. You know, in Topeka, Kansas, it's a mansion. So you have to, you know, the moving services are going to, you know, be the same differential. There will be people on the East Coast charging $125, $130 an hour, because that's what their market will bear. But as she said, most of the country, you know, is in that middle range. The West Coast also has very high fees as well.
And for your average, you know, 4-bedroom, you know, house, you know, we're looking at probably around 25 to 30 hours of move management services. That does not include the physical move, to kind of give you a ballpark. And that's, you know, obviously for the whole project.
Great. Joanne Johnson has a really good point here, and she says it's such an emotional experience for seniors. Do the move managers ever reach out to counselors? And one of the things when I read that, I sort of chuckled inside, because one guy that's become a good friend of mine is Matt Paxton. He used to host the TV show Hoarders. And whenever I hear Matt talk, I always say, Matt, if I ever have to go back into therapy again, I'm just going to call you, because you've got these insights that, you know, based on his work with people and their emotions and why they're tied to their possessions and things like that. He's so insightful, and he's not a licensed counselor. And so one of the things, and I'd be curious of your comments on this, is that I think for those folks that are out there and they are emotionally challenged with this moving and downsizing, one of the best shoulders to cry on is somebody who has done and seen it many, many times. Yes, a therapist is necessary if you've got a hoarding situation, but I think the counseling that these move managers probably provide to their clients is almost as valuable as the organizing.
Well,
yeah, and our members stay in their lane, though. You know, our members do not try to, you know, be PhDs in counseling. You know, they very much stay in their lane and do, you know, what the outline of the job. But that doesn't mean that they're not an incredible ear to speak to, tell the stories of their loved one, to tell the stories of their possessions that they're downsizing. The soft skills of senior move management are just as important as the hard skills. We talked earlier about the math involved. There's, a lot of math involved with all of this in terms of trying to, get it on, all organized, but there's also a lot of listening. And so counseling is a kind of a charged word because, it indicates some professional background in counseling. Our members are listeners extraordinaire,
We also do have a lot of members that have come into move management from a social work background or nursing. So there is that. But I also think too, the fact that, nobody wakes up after being in their home for 48 years and says, honey, let's move. Something has precipitated this need to make this type of transition at this stage in life. And move managers understand that. I mean, there, could be loss of a spouse, loss of, physical abilities, the onset of dementia or chronic illness. And they understand that the stress of a move that is not handled properly can really send an older adult into a downward spiral. So, but they're also, if they're in a situation where they feel that this older adult needs more assistance, they will refer to, like, we have an affiliation with ALCA, with the Aging Life Care Association, to bring in an aging life care professional who can, assist if there is, deeper issues where they need a master's prepared nurse or social worker who can help them through some of these hurdles.
Cool. Tom, any of those questions that we've got on our little roster there jump out at you? No, this is great. And I see in the chat, we've been talking about China. Sharna has some good ideas there on China.
Yeah,
Somebody
that's a hard, there's so many categories of our homes that are, that can be repurposed. And the thing about hiring a senior move manager, and not to just beat this, into the ground, but they're doing this every day, all day. This is not like a part-time job where they're doing it while their kids are in kindergarten. These are really difficult, daunting days. And they're up at, they're at someone's home at 8 a.m. and they may not leave that home till 9 p.m. and, come back again the next day and all that. I mean, this is daunting work, and it's not for everyone, but because they're doing it all day, every day, they have so many resources. It's not just, as Jennifer was saying, they would refer to a life care manager if they did see a need for counseling. That's just one of so many different referrals they could make. It's not just what they do, it's what they know. You are paying for what they know as well as what they do. And that's really an important distinction to make.
Great.
They know the resources in their area. When you said, Tom, way back an hour ago, when you said, about people generally have, resources locally, where the senior move manager will get to know the local moving companies and everything. They know everybody locally. The virtual Rolodex of a senior move manager is enormous. They can hook you up with, elder law attorneys and wealth managers at banks, home care agencies. They are deeply embedded in their local communities. And so that's an important thing to remember also.
Tom, remember last month in the Studebaker?
I do.
Yeah. We had somebody who had their parents had a bunch of Studebakers on at their property, and it was a huge topic of discussion. And so it looks like people are asking questions about the Studebakers, and if the Studebaker customer is going to be on Matt Paxton's new show. So,
Yeah.
I'll do some research on that one. And if the person with the Studebaker's in the audience, throw an update or raise your hand and share with us what happened there.
Exactly. But yeah, so many questions about the downsizing. It's overwhelming. It's a process.
It's a process.
And you're so right. You just don't get it done like that.
No, and I mean, for people who are just getting started, if they're not going to hire a move manager, I mean, one of the simplest ways to do is to go and get, stickers that are easily removable, that where you can color code things that are, keep, donate, junk,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then and maybe sometimes I'm not sure, and then you'll have to go back to that pile and figure out where that's going to go. And we understand it's there's lots of things. Senior move managers can also help you with your photos. That's a huge area of one of the last things that gets handled with a move is what do we do with all of the photo albums and the slide carousels and all of that. So
Sure.
there's, like, as Mary Kay said, depending on your budget, they can do as little or as much as you want. If you want to get started, doing that sort of sort, toss, keep, is the way to get started.
Hey, this is a good one here. Maria says, I need an interim place to live while I sell my condo and move to my retirement home out of the country. Not sure where to begin. Maria, in our audience, we have Jennifer Hammer from this organization called Silver Nest, which is home sharing for older adults. Silver Nest might be an interesting option. Jennifer, if you want to throw a comment in there, but one thing that I've seen is people like Marie who go from their home to, it sounds like she was living in a condo already, but folks that go from the home, maybe a 3-bedroom home, to a 2-bedroom condo, and then they make a transition to a senior community or active adult, staging it that way is often, it feels less like you're ripping off the Band-Aid all at once.
Depending on her, what her definition of interim is, another opportunity is to contact your local retirement communities. Generally, there is not 100% occupancy at almost any retirement community. There's usually, 85 to 90% occupancy.
Mm-hmm.
She could look at renting, an apartment there. Those apartments are all like ready to go on a moment's notice. She could think about renting something there. There's also almost all the major retirement communities have a couple of guest apartments where family flying in from out of town, as a courtesy, they reserve 2 or 3 apartments for guest apartments, and she could talk to them about renting a place there. I am almost sure she could find something locally.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And wow, I'm looking at the clock. It's 1 o'clock. I'm going to rip through a few of these here real quickly, and we will wrap up. But for those that have to jump off, this is recorded. Let's see. Question on where are your headquarters located?
Oh, ours is in Chicago, where I am. Yeah.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
great. And let's see. Somebody says, I sold my house, bought a condo 5 years ago. Now I'm getting ready to retire, but I need to get rid of so much stuff before I sell the condo. I guess I didn't downsize enough. Again, I mean, I'm reading that just to let folks know in the audience, you're not alone with these challenges or thoughts. Today, we've been talking about this. Everybody is dealing with this. And let's see. Okay, well, what do I think we talked a little bit about this with the China, but somebody says, what do I do with my mother's silver if you're downsizing? I think on one of our previous discussions, Tom, didn't one of our panel members say something like there is a market for the actual silver, but then the silver itself, being sold as silver the same way that they're pulling copper pipes out of buildings has a value. And so I think the general consensus, as Mary Kay and Jennifer had said, is that your kids might not want this stuff, okay?
Right.
And it might not be worth what you think it is.
Well, I mean, like silver plate, forget about it. But if it's actual, silver, there's a market for that. even if it just gets melted down. I mean, there is a market
Exactly.
for it.
The
So-
other thing, that if people are in, your audience, consumers, Facebook Marketplace is a great place to repurpose. Maybe an 80-year-old, your 80-year-old mother doesn't want her silver anymore, but there's a lot of millennials who love, vintage items. They don't want to pay. It's not to pay a ton of money. You won't get a ton of money, but it will go to somebody, for a small amount of money who cherishes it, who actually wants it.
Yeah,
And
or
that-
we'll use it, to repurpose in some sort of a craft project or something, There's
Yeah,
some great Facebook groups on like upcycling and repurposing that, where people go
Well,
to
and
get ideas and
their
stuff.
local marketplace. Oh my gosh, some of the things that I see on my local, Facebook Marketplace, it's just a great way. But again, a senior move manager could help you do that. I mean, there's just
Yeah.
all these things, everything we think of, we're like, gosh, yeah, but they could help you with that too. So,
Exactly. Yeah, one of the aging life care managers who is in the DC region calls themselves the wedding planners for aging. And really, like, you can plan your own wedding, just like you can take care of your own move, or you can let somebody else take the burden of that. So the
you're
last
still
one-
married, right?
Yeah, exactly. The last, I'll finish with Jennifer Hammer from Silvernest again, who says, is there an approximate percentage of clients who use move management services but aren't moving, like those, I guess, those forward thinking individuals that are using the move manager to help them downsize, knowing they're also going to be familiar with them when they're ready to move.
Well, and that's a huge, as we look at, what's coming down the road in the next, 5 to 10 years, and there are plenty of older adults who, most people want to stay in their homes, let's face it. So if they don't have to move, basically doing move management without the move is, it's still decluttering and it's still organizing and it's still, conducting a home functional assessment and a home safety assessment and making sure that, if the older adult is only using 2 or 3 rooms in their house, that those rooms are really maximized for functionality and for safety. Doing little things like, replacing light switches with toggle switches, replacing doorknobs with levers, making sure that throw rugs have been, secured or better removed, making sure that there's contrast between countertops and floors, things like that, that can allow an older adult to remain in their home. And senior move managers, especially through our NASMM at Home program, are, learning these skills. This is something that we offer, as a designation to our members, and it's something that we cover at our conferences, yearly, and are always offering more training in areas like universal design and understanding lighting and color and all of that comes into working with, an aging adult.
I love it. Wow. All right. Once again, Tom, this is such a great topic and there's so much engagement. I thank you. I know forgive the China reference, but I'm sort of like a bull in the China shop.
The hour goes so fast.
Yeah.
You do a great job, Steve. And thank you, Mary Kay. Thank you, Jennifer. It was a great hour.
Yeah, we
Awesome.
enjoyed it.
See
Thanks for
everybody
having
at
us.
the next one. All right.
All right. Sounds
Thanks
good.
for having us.
Very
Bye.
good.